Hey, what's up guys, MashShiny here, come back with a brand new video for you guys. Today we're going to be talking about the Spectrum case and everything to do with the Spectrum case, if the Spectrum case could go up in price moving forward, and just everything to do with it. But before we hop on into it, only a small percentage of you guys who watch the videos are actually subscribed. Discord is going to be in the description. Let's hop on into it. Now, the Spectrum case is really good at attracting people from all over. It's got a lot of different things people look for when they're opening up cases. They've got those really high tier reds that are still going for a pretty decent price point after a while. Your USP, if you get it in field tested, you're still going to be pulling in 20 to 25 bucks, and that Bloodsport AK is going to be almost $50 for field tested. So it's definitely got some decently priced reds, which is something a lot of people have been looking for recently, just because there's nothing worse than when you're unboxing a case and you get something out of it that's a red and it's only worth like $3. It's really demoralizing, and it usually leads a lot of people away from the case. It also does pretty decent for its pinks as well. It comes in around that $5 to $6 range, which I would say is pretty much average and as good as you can hope for out of a case that's really not pushing too high of a price point. Currently, you can pick up the case for around like 62 to 65 cents depending on the time in the buy order, but there's a lot of potential that comes with that rare special item. That's where a lot of the investment opportunity comes, is people's interest in that rare special item. When you're going to open up a Spectrum case, the main thing you're going to be going for is probably that butterfly knife. It's the most expensive out of all of them, and in this case, it really doesn't have much for bad finishes in my opinion. You've got the rust coat, which I mean, it's not the greatest finished, but it still goes for a decent price point. It's not like it's super cheap. Same with Damascus steel. It's not a super cheap price point for the Damascus steels, and especially if you're looking at those butterfly knives all across the board are super expensive, and that's the main goal of opening this case, is you've got 4 really good finishes that you're going for. The worst of those 4 is probably going to be the ultraviolet, just because if you don't get it in a pretty decent condition, you're not going to be having a super high price point. But then you've got the butterfly, Doppler, marble fade, and tiger tooth, each going for over $1,000, which is absolutely insane, the knife price point this case offers. That's not even the most crazy part though. The most crazy part about this case is the potential for a super big hit. It offers the Doppler, and if you don't know about the Doppler, there's 2 main outcomes. There's kind of a third in the black pearl, but we're not really going to focus on that. There's 2 main outcomes. You've got a ruby and a sapphire, and if you get that on a butterfly knife, you are going to be set. Those generally go for $10,000. A ruby or a sapphire on a butterfly knife. You're looking at just $10,000, maybe slightly above or below, but roughly that's about what you're going to be looking at. And the thing is, this is possible with all 5 of the knife outcomes for the Doppler. You could get a butterfly or a ruby huntsman, falchion, shadow daggers, or a bowie. So there's a lot of really good outcomes that come from this case. And I mean, for a case that's going to cost you about $3 in total to open, the chance for a $10,000 knife is actually, it's not too bad. Overall though, your average price point is going to come out to around $300 on average for that rare special item, but that's not including your ruby or sapphire, because those kind of skew the data a little bit just because they are so expensive. Going back to the question though, should you invest in the Spectrum case? It's a pretty hard decision. The Spectrum case does have a lot going for it. First of all, you've got the amount on the market. Currently, we'll round up and say there's about 50,000 on the market, which seems like a lot, but when it's compared to a case like the Gamma case, both of the Gamma cases have around 75,000 on the market, and they came out before the Spectrum case, so it's sitting in a pretty good position that wise. Another thing that's becoming more popular is looking at your return percentage of what you're going to get if you open it, and the Spectrum case does decent in that. It's going to give you around that 47-48% return, which is not terrible, but honestly it's not like top tier. It's about average for the list, but it's something that's really good if you think this case has a lot of investment opportunity, that's not going to be holding it back. Finally then, one last thing that's becoming more important as well as we look at these cases is we saw it with the CS20. that there was really not much for opening in them. The Spectrum case, on the other hand, has really been doing well. In June 2021, we saw about 500,000 of these unboxed, which is 10 times more than what's on the market right now. So these cases are disappearing pretty quick. Now, it is in the rare drop pool, so there are still some coming in, but obviously not 500,000. That's an extremely large number, and we're starting to dissipate these pretty quickly. But it looks even better when we head into July. When we head into July, we see over 1.1 million of these cases being unboxed, which is a super high amount of these. There's really not many cases that are comparing to this that are from the older time period. The only one is the Gamma 2 case, and that one really doesn't beat it by too much. Looking at this data, I would strongly suggest going in if you feel like there's a large opportunity for the Spectrum case. Personally, I'm probably going up to buy a little bit more just because there's a lot of them being unboxed. There's 20 times what's on the market just for July 2021. In August, I would probably guess there's probably going to be around 600,000 to 800,000 being opened if we can kind of extrapolate what we're seeing from this data. But what we're seeing so far is very promising for a strong future for the Spectrum case. I mean, if you look at the graph, it has been a pretty good gainer so far. It's struggled a little bit in the past month or two, but everything really has. But the past month especially, it really hasn't gone down in price. It stayed pretty constant, which is really all you can ask for out of a good case. The only real problem I see for the Spectrum case moving forward is I think there's a lot of these that are being hidden from the market. It's something we saw with the glove case, where the glove case now has around 70,000 on the market, but it got down to a point where there was less than 10,000 on the market when we were in that little investment hype there. There was a lot of them disappearing from the market, and it was really hard to tell how many of these actual cases were out there, and I feel like something similar could definitely happen to the Spectrum case. For me, just judging by the fact that there's only 50,000 on the market, but we can look at like the Gamma 2 case that has 75,000 on the market and had 1.4 million opened up in July. I really struggled to see that there's only about 50,000 of these on the market, and I think that's something that a lot of investors could be dangerously misled about, is thinking that there's a super low supply of this case. This case does not have a super low supply out there, but it does have a lot of investment opportunity once that supply starts to dwindle a little bit. This case is slightly also impacted by the Spectrum 2 case. It's something we see a lot, is that the cases kind of have to move together, but at this point I don't think the Spectrum case is really going to be hindered by the Spectrum 2 case. But that is really all I have for today, guys. Overall, I think the Spectrum case definitely has a lot of potential moving forward. I know I'm personally probably going to pick up a bit more of them, just because right now it seems like it's in about as low as the price is going to go, in my opinion, for the near future. It's one that's constantly been going up, just chugging along a little bit at a time, and for me that's really what I want right now, especially as a lot of the cases that I have are going down in price a little bit. I think a Spectrum case is definitely going to be a safe case that'll just definitely keep on cooking. But that's really all I have for today, guys. I just want to thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.